Welcome to the Live Water Ionizer installation video. We've designed installation to be as easy as possible, and in most cases you won't even need any tools. I'll begin by just opening the box to give you an idea of what's inside. Okay, when the box arrives, first thing you do is obviously just open the top of the box. Pull out a little styrofoam protector from the top of the machine, put that aside. And you're going to find some things along the side of the ionizer. First, you're going to find your manual, and you can put that aside for now. Then you're going to find a filter in the long rectangular box. We're going to show you how to put that in a little later, but you can pull that out, put that aside as well. And then you have a little thin package. Inside there, you're going to find the hose and the top connector, which puts out the water. Put those aside. Then you're going to find a heavier box. Inside this box are a number of things. There's some items for descaling, which is periodic maintenance on the machine. There's some screws if you want to hang the machine on the wall. There's also the different versions of diverter valves for your faucet or type of faucet. You're also going to find a little pH test kit inside this little box here. And then after one other plastic part, you're going to find a little piece of cardboard. And this is actually to measure where to put your screws on the wall if you want to mount it to the wall. Pull the packaging off the top of the machine, and then you can lift the ionizer out. It'll come out with another piece of styrofoam on the bottom, which is protective. So now set the machine down. We're going to turn the machine over now. I'm going to show you how to remove the little packaging caps or hose that actually just kind of protect the two inlet and outlet valves. If you turn the machine over and there's a hose between the inlet and the outlet valve, it's really easy to remove. You just pull up on one of the little blue things here. It's got a little edge on it, and then when you pull it off, you see it just looks like a little horseshoe. And pull the other one off. This is going to allow us to just pull out this little short piece of pipe from the quick disconnects. So you pull those off, and then you just push in with a couple fingers. It's pretty easy to do on the valve, and then the hose pushes out. Same thing on the other one. Just push in a little bit, pull that out, and we're going to set those aside. And that's if you see a hose on the bottom. One of the things we're considering is actually replacing the hose with just a couple little caps over the inlet and the outlet valve. So if you don't see a hose, then just pull the two caps off, and then we're ready to go to the next step. Our next step is cutting the hose, usually in two, but the long white hose for our inlet and outlet valve. And if you want them the same length, you could just put them together and run your hand to the other end and then cut them with some scissors or kitchen shears. The reason why we send you one long hose and not two for you to cut is some people wanted the ability to make one a little bit longer than the other. So if that's the case, just measure it up to what you want, depending where your ionizer sits on the countertop. And then you can just go back and cut it to the length that you want. And then we're on to the next step. When you first get your live water ionizer, it doesn't come with a filter installed. So we're going to need to do that. It'll come there in your package. You'll see it like this in a little plastic bag. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do the installation of the filter. Now the first thing I do is I take the filter, I put it under the tap, and I run water through here for a couple minutes. That's just to remove any excess carbon sediment from the carbon chamber inside. So I've done that. I've filled this up with water. Now what I'm going to do is open up the back of the machine. All I do is press here, and then the bottom pops up, and then I lift it out. I unscrew this counterclockwise, the top. Now my filter here, I'm going to put it down inside, push down hard, and it'll snap into place and seal itself. And then I put my top back on, I twist it till it's firmly closed, and then I take the little tab here and put it in a little notch there, leaning it backwards like this until it grabs, and then I snap it in. In this video I'm going to show you how to install a diverter valve for countertop installation of the live air purifier. This is pretty easy to do. What you're going to need, and in your package you should have gotten a kit like this that has a number of different parts inside. And you're going to want the diverter valve and this little piece here. It's got two different size threads here. So you're going to need these two parts to install it. But the first thing we're going to do is take off the little aerator valve that's on there now to get to the threads. And usually you can just take your fingers, wrap around it, and start turning it clockwise, and it'll unscrew. If it doesn't unscrew, then you're going to want to find a pair of pliers and wrap a cloth around it. And I'm going to use these pliers here if I needed them. And the cloth is just so it doesn't scratch, and you can just grab that tightly, give it a little twist that way, and that's usually enough just to get it started, and then it'll unscrew. So you've taken the aerator valve off. Now we're going to take the diverter valve and this group of threads right here. Now again, this is for the Stern American insulation. If you've got an outside threads or one that doesn't have any threads on it at all, in terms of your faucet, there's actually instructions in the manual for that. But this is your basic insulation. So what I'm going to do with this is take the threads that fit on the inside of the diverter valve and squeeze those in until it's a little bit snug. Okay, and then I'll get the other threads, stick them back where the little aerator was before, and start turning till I get the threads to grab. Now a little piece in the top actually, this can move while this is snug with the seal. So I'm just going to keep turning it though till it gets tight. And then you don't need pliers for it. You can usually do it by hand and it'll seal itself. And that's the installation. Now depending which way you have the ionizer, you're going to want to stick this part, and then the little valve here allows you to turn the ionizer on and off from here. So if my ionizer was on that side, I'd stick this toward that side and just snug it up a little bit. And then once you're done with that, the only thing left to do is stick the other end of the green hose. The green hose is marked by green on the other end onto here, and just push it on snugly. Once it's on snug, it usually grabs and you're done with the aerator. To connect our hoses, we're going to turn the machine on its back, and on the right hand side you'll see that there's a little doorway there to put the cables through, and that's the power cable. As there is on the left hand side too, there's a doorway, and that way you can put the machine on the left or on the right and run the cables through the way that works best on your counter. So this hose right here, we're going to take this hose and put it into the inlet valve or quick disconnect valve. This is the one coming from the faucet, this hose here. So what we do is when we get to where the connector is, we're just going to push this into the hole snugly. You push it in far enough, it'll stop. And then when you pull back, just to make sure that it's got a good connection, but it's, you know, one of the easier things to do. So that's in, we pull back, it's snug, and that's one of the hoses done. Now we're going to take the other hose. This is the outlet hose, and this is the one that just goes to the sink. It's where the acid water comes out and drains into the sink. So just going to turn the valve a little bit to get it lined up, push it in like we did the other one snugly, pull back, and we just see that it's snug, and we're done getting the hoses through. The only remaining step is to plug in the outlet hose. This is where you're going to get your alkaline water out of. And you just put that into the top here. Turn it clockwise until you get a good seal there. Okay. And then the other thing is just plugging it in the wall.